Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If I can do it, you can do it, and yes, you can cook. I'm not trained. I didn't go to culinary school. I literally learned from YouTube videos and my Italian mom. And here we go. We're gonna do a frittata, my version, which is basically a sort of a souffle or an omelet. So here we go. I cut up zucchini. I like my stuff chunky. I've said this before in my other videos. I sped this one up, but as you can see, I'm just chopping off the ends. Clearly, they were washed, dried. I'm just chopping them into circles. Okay, so let's get it to the onion here. So I really like the taste of onion in a lot of my foods. What I do love is a nice sauteed onion that will caramelize and kind of get see-through in some beautifully seasoned olive oil. I like to add salt, I like to add pepper, garlic pepper, all that. But it's not hard. Right here, basically what we're doing is we're just doing, again, a nice thick chop, rough chop, nothing too specific or perfect. Like, if I can do it, you can do it. Let's turn on the stove. I like to start the stove off really, really high, just because I like to get that pan nice and hot. And then we're going to start adding some olive oil. Listen, I love olive oil. Add as much as you want, as little as you want. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I don't think, for me anyways, that it makes or breaks my waistline. If anything, it's kind of helping. There we go. Add all the onion in there. Saute, saute, saute. Meld it in with the garlic. Get it nice and soft. It doesn't matter to me or to you. Again, here's where you can kick it off and do whatever you want. If you want to if you want to have your onions super soft and actually not feel it or taste it or have that texture throughout the frittata when you're done with it, then just let this go for a while. Add some more olive oil, put a lid on it, and let it steam through. But if you want to keep, to have some of that in there, then go for it. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I was cracking an egg back there, and I actually put the shell right inside the pot as I was cracking. So, like I said, I'm definitely not perfect. There's another one. Boom! I'm definitely not perfect. So, look, you get an eggshell in your eggs, just take it out. One thing that I tend to do is if I get in there, I usually actually use a piece of the broken eggshell to get out the other eggshell. For some reason, it kind of sticks, and I'm not sure where I saw that, heard that, but it actually works a whole lot better than trying to get your finger in there. Believe it or not, it kind of sticks together. So I have about, I believe, anywhere between 7 to 8 eggs. And this will do like a 10-inch, 12-inch round frittata. And I like to add the whole thing. I like to add the yolk, I like to add the whites. And here is where you can do your thing and, not add the yolk and add more whites. Again, it's up to you. Like I said, I put 8 eggs in here, just about, I think. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but count it as we go through. But that's what I did. You could see those onions are just starting to get beautifully coated and caramelized. And I just let that go. Now I'm adding pecorino cheese. This is the best part. This is the flavor. I haven't added any salt anywhere else yet, but I'm using probably about 5 heaping tablespoons of pecorino. I just love the way it tastes. That's what makes the frittata for me. And then I'm going to actually stir that up. And add some chives on top. Now at this point, the real authentic way to do this is when you're doing a zucchini frittata. Now I added spinach just because I had some in the fridge. But what you add in there, what that black stuff was actual garlic pepper, unsalted again. So it's not, I haven't added any garlic salt or anything like that. It was just a bit of garlic pepper. You can add some chili pepper at this point if you'd like. What I was saying is the real Italian way is you can get some mint. I had no mint in the house, but if you get some beautiful mint leaves, just a few of those, chop them up really, really fine. I'm telling you, it adds such a flavor. And the authentic way to do this is probably a lot less onions, but a whole lot of zucchini, chop it up a little finer than I did, and add some mint leaves. to it. It's an excellent taste. Now, there's the chives. Under normal circumstances, I mean, I started out, I had so much zucchini in the fridge and I wanted to use it before it went bad. What you could do at this point is, if you had it done properly, is, well, I mean, if you had it arranged properly or a bigger pan, I wanted to actually arrange all the zucchini, but then I realized that it wasn't going to stick to anything at the bottom. I didn't really have a base. So what I could have done was, and what you can do it better than I did, is you can actually add an egg base first, like have the onions going, then add a flat egg base to it, like half of that mixture, or maybe 1/3 of that mixture. You put it down and then actually arrange the zucchini. If you had a lot less, it would work a whole lot better around the plate. And I mean, it would be cool for a presentation, and just kind of arrange it in circles all the way around. It would look really pretty. But, you know, we're doing rustic Italian here, so it's just whatever goes. So we're going to let that sit. We're actually going to put a lid on it. I added a little bit of garlic salt at this point, just because I wanted to get that zucchini wilted and cooked down. So that's why I added salt. Figured that I added it with some flavor. Flavor is everything. And I'm just going to put a lid on this and let it go to town. I added the chili pepper, or the crushed chili pepper, at this point too. So what you see is me just kind of going back and forth, stirring it up a little bit. I added a really tight lid because I really wanted that zucchini to melt down. And just stirring and going back and forth. And I go between, I'm keeping a real close eye on this just because I want the temperature to go between, you know, higher and then bring it down lower, and higher and bring it down lower. So I've done that a couple of times, left it going for about, you know, 5 minutes, just keeping my eye on it so nothing burns. And slowly, when I start to see that sweat come off of the zucchini, I prefer to add the egg. At this point, you could add some olive oil just to let it fry up a little bit more, but here we are, we're adding all that egg in there, egg mixture, and I really like to scoop out all the pecorino cheese just because, I mean, that's where all that flavor is. As you can see, the sides of the frittata are already starting to cook up. That's because my pan is really nice and hot. And smooth it out so you have, you know, as much of a flat surface as you can have at the top of your frittata. I like my stuff sticking out. Totally up to you. You do what you want. And we're going to let that cook. You can see everything is sweating out. There's some spinach in the side there, and we'll talk about the spinach in a second. So I want all of that yolk and the egg to cook, and I don't want it to sit in the middle. So what I do is I go from the sides and I scoop it out so that it actually gets through. Like you can see, it's being cooked on the bottom there, right? But what I do is I scoop that egg out and then push it to the center so that all of the extra juice, if there is any, or the extra juice of the egg, cooks out. And you can see I also flip the pan around just so that it can create a nice crust around the edges. So I'm adding spinach here. I had spinach in my fridge. Traditionally, non-traditionally, you do whatever you want to do. The reason why I'm adding spinach is just because I want to get my greens in. And again, I had all these vegetables in the fridge and I didn't want it to wilt out. The spinach is going to, you know, as we all know, disintegrate or get smaller and smaller from what is there. But I just really want it to add something else. You can leave the spinach out completely. Here is, I'm going through with it with the spatula just because I actually want to get and ensure that nothing is sticking, and also that everything is cooking through, and just to make sure that there is no egg yolk that's left not cooked. And then I just put it on a low simmer, and I just allow those vegetables to soften up along with the spinach. I had a little problem there trying to get that spinach in, but just keep it on low so that it, you know, cooks out. And there you go. It's coming along, right? At this point, I'm adding mozzarella. I like my stuff ooey gooey and chewy, so I added some fresh mozzarella. Some of it was grated, some of it's in chunks. You know, there's no, for me, it's going in my tummy. I want it to look good, but I want it to taste good too. So I just add that cheese closer to the end just so that it melts out nicely. Oh, a little spinach stuck to the lid, but there you go. You see some of that cheese melting out. And again, I just want to keep it away from the edge of the pan just so that I can get a nice release when it's time to let this, you know, when it's time to plate it. Now, if you had a longer spatula or something like that, I probably should have put a little bit more oil or tried to seep some oil getting in there so that it wouldn't stick to the bottom. But you'll see once we get to the closer to the end of this video. The center was, stuck a little bit, but what are you going to do? This is raw. This is me at home. Okay, I'm trying this. I was terrified doing this just because I tried to flip the plate over and it was heavy. Everything was really heavy. So I was just trying to gauge it. I mean, this is like no takes, no nothing. This is no camera work. This is literally me trying to just flip this over and like praying for the best. I mean, if I can do it, you can. Look, I'm sure there's a better way to do this. Maybe have like some help, but you could see some of that egg yolk just went right into my, right onto my stove. And then I just flipped it and flipped it back. So that's all the center. That was, the center of that frittata. I just flipped it around real quick and just allowed it to cook into one, one round sphere. Here we go. So I'm so OCD that I actually need to clean that, but as we're cooking, I like to clean as I go, so you'll see that I walk away often just because I go to the sink to either wash my hands or put a piece of spinach in the garbage or whatever I need to do. So here we are. What I'm doing here, I don't know, I tried something and I add oil. I'm adding like pure extra virgin, actually finishing oil to this, so it has that wonderful taste. And the reason why I'm doing it around the edges is because, you see, I want it to crisp up. I want that cheese to crisp up. I want to fry it. At this point, I want my edges fried. I want it to crisp up, and I want it to stay as one round, fluffy omelet / frittata. This is me. This is my version. And I love that crunch at the end. I love that melted, gooey, hardened cheese on the corners. Well, not corners, but around the actual frittata. There's the steam coming out. I'm really simmering this at a medium-low, just because I don't want to overcook the egg, but I also want to make sure that both sides are cooked top and bottom, and I just want to keep going so that the edges there are nice and crunchy. For me, that's what I like. So I just kind of keep going round and round, keeping my eye on it, and loosening it as much as possible as it consistently, kind of comes together and bakes together. If you needed to cut through it, if you needed to ensure that your center was cooked. I mean, the eggs are definitely cooked after all this time. There's no way that it's going to be raw. It could be gooey, but that could also be the cheese itself. It's just because it's been sitting there for so long. And then I tried it again, and look at me, I did it. So quickly, that's the underside of the pan. I flip it back because it's all, one big mass. I'm able to keep it on the plate, cool that off, and let it cool into a nice round egg cake. Hey, that's something new, an egg cake. I'm sure it exists, but I love all those beautiful crunchy pieces at the bottom of that pan, and that's actually what I'm going to eat first before I dig into this meal. 1/4 of this, depending on how many people you're feeding, is so delicious, so sustainable, so fresh. At the end, you see that beautiful caramelization of the onions, all that steam seeping through. Guys, you got to try this. It's delicious. Try that olive oil technique at the end just to get that crisp. I mean, look at what it's done. So some cheesy, gooey, pecorino, mozzarella, zucchini, spinach frittata, made by me and shortly made by you. Keep this in the fridge. Take this for lunch the next day. It's, everything is always better when it sits together, right? So it actually sometimes tastes better the next day if you like it cold. Thanks so much for subscribing to my channel. Like, share, do what you can. Get the word out there. If I can do it, guys, you can do it. 15 minutes.